Hey guys, Drew here. Just want to quickly update you on this podcast. It's a special podcast. It's the first one I've done since baby Theodore Andrew Gregory was born. My wife went into labor a month early, and it's a pretty interesting story. I actually share that story on the podcast here tonight at the 6 minute and 50-second mark. But if you're not interested in that, maybe I've seen how much, some of you guys fish out there. You're definitely single, no prospects, not dating. You are dating the river. I've seen it. If you're not interested in a birth story, you can just fast forward to about 16 minutes and 50 seconds. We'll get into the River Bassin recap there. But hey, it's a pretty cool story, I think at least. And you definitely could listen to that at 6 minutes and 50 seconds. And we talked to Dr. Kenneth Noisewater. We recap the entire River Bassin Tournament Trail. What's happened since baby Theo was born, and I've been slammed so busy and lack of sleep. But anyway, we're a little rusty, but hopefully you'll enjoy this one. And also don't forget to go check out the new Hooked on Wild Water sweepstakes for June. $250 Tackle Warehouse gift card. Top right corner, hookedonwildwaters.com. Click on contest. You'll see how to enter. But for now, let's get to it. I'm Drew Gregory, and this is Hooked on Wild Waters. All right, everybody, I bet you thought that I was dead. Something happened to me. Where's Drew? Where's Hooked on Wild Waters? Well, we are back. I'm not dead, but I am kind of dead. I'm exhausted. Our baby, Christina and I, my wife, decided to come a month early. So about 3.5 weeks early, little baby Theodore Andrew Gregory showed up, 5 pounds, 2 ounces. So, hey, that's a trophy. That's a citation, right? And it's going to be an interesting podcast tonight as I catch up with Dr. Kenneth Noisewater and catch up with all you guys out there on what exactly I've been up to these past basically 3-4 weeks with the baby. Hey, Dr. Noisewater, how's it going?
It's going good, Drew. Congratulations. It's good to hear that everything's going well. And, I've been busy myself with some other things and trying to keep up with everything too. Probably not quite as busy as you, though. Not going to take that away from you.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. So you definitely get even more respect for anybody out there who's a parent. You know what I mean? After you go through it. And, with Theo being a month early, I mean, he's so small. They're like, hey, you got to put a lot of weight on him. So you got to wake him up. I guess every newborn, you got to wake up and kind of feed every couple hours. But with him, it's even more so and more often until he started gaining weight. And then, he started gaining weight and things are better now. And he's healthy and happy. And so that's what's really most important. Christina's healthy as well. And so we're blessed. But is anybody still river bassing out there? What's been going on? I mean, I assume it's still going on.
Absolutely. There's been a lot going on, and I've barely been able to keep up with it with some of my own stuff. And so sorry for the lack of posts or anything like that, but there's been a lot of changes and it's been hard to keep up with some of my own stuff. And then obviously you were MIA for a little while, so this is how we're catching up.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to catch up with everybody out there on what I've been going through, and then we'll catch up with the River Bassin stuff. It's going to be a fun episode. We're going to try to keep it around 30 minutes or so, and then from here on out, I'm going to try to get back in a rhythm and get one going every couple weeks, and then we'll bring you on updating River Bassin even more. Before we get started, and I tell a little bit more of a story on what happened to me, and then we talk to you about River Bassin. I definitely want to thank our headline sponsor, Jackson Kayak. Dr. Noisewater, you know about Jackson Kayak. You've got Jackson Kayaks. You're part of the team. Hey, I've been in this Liska lately. That boat is amazing for a price point boat. I got to be honest with everyone out there, and this is why you listen to the podcast. I give you a little bit more of the real info, behind the scenes, real stuff, right? And what I'm about to say now is the truth. Drew Gregory does not use every bell and whistle on the more pricier kayaks, and a lot of times I'm focusing on buying a kayak for the whole. What do you want your kayak to do? What kind of water are you fishing in? Do you need speed? Do you need stability? Do you need maneuverability? And quite honestly, I don't use every bell and whistle on the kayak. I'm sure some of the sponsors of mine don't want to hear that, but I don't use a Ray Marine Fish Finder every time. Now, obviously, I use it a lot. That's why I got it. I don't use a power pole every time. But I have it because I do need it. So they're very important, but every time, not so much. And I'm saying all this to say this, Ken, the Liska is not loaded down with a bunch of bells and whistles you don't need. It's a good price point boat, and it's got the hull that is magical, man. You've fished out of this yet?
I have not. I've had a really close eye on it. I definitely am. That's probably going to be one of the next ones I add to my collection, as long as I can get it past my wife and fit it into my garage. But it's definitely one I have my eye on, and I want to get some seat time in for sure.
Yeah, it's just got that low profile like the Mayfly. In other words, it's not going to catch a lot of wind. And it was built off the Mayfly frame. Mayfly is more of a fly fishing focused, simple boat, but it's got that same stability. It's just anybody can stand in this thing, and the fact that you're not going to spend almost $2,000 on it, I think it's around like $1,200 or $1,300. But it's just an awesome boat. So you guys got to check
Yeah.
it out, the Jackson Kayak Liska, and thanks to Jackson Kayak, headline sponsor of the podcast and
The
all
the
Hooked on
price
Wild
point is
Waters.
great.
Yeah, really is. I caught a 10-pounder out of that thing. The first time I took it out, if you go look on my Instagram, Hooked on Wild Waters Instagram, you'll see some photos of that humongous bass I caught the very first time I was in the boat. So, hey, I definitely slimed it right, and it's definitely worked well for me. So, can't complain at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. That price point is great, and I know a couple people have been in them, and there's been no complaints from anyone, and they seem to be floating and working really well. So it's definitely a great boat.
All right, jacksonkayak.com. And hey, click on find a dealer. We got dealers all over the country, and you can certainly get into a demo to test it out. Try before you buy. We always promote that. Try before you buy for sure. So moving on. So let me tell you this story. What happened, Ken, when the baby was born. So as you guys know, Hooked on Wild Waters, we try to, hopefully you know this if you're a listener or a viewer, I should say, of the show. We try to post one once a month. Once we started in March, and then we go for 8 episodes once a month, last Wednesday of the month. Call it Hooked on Wild Waters, or sorry, call it Wild Waters Wednesday, and that's our goal, right? And so we had this perfect schedule laid out. I said, you know what, Christina, I've got to film, in May, like let's say like early May, in order to have a couple episodes in the can, so that I can just sit here, at home, be with the baby. Baby was due June 10th. I'll be with little Theo. We'll hang out. I'll have a couple months where I'm not going to have to travel, and I can do work from home. I can do some podcasts, and we'll have episodes that'll still be pumping out on the continual basis, and no one will be any wiser of when they were filmed and whatnot. Which of course, episodes are always filmed months and months in advance sometimes. So I hooked up with Georgia Power. They're sponsoring sort of a mini series for Hooked on Wild Waters, and they manage a lot of the great waters in Georgia, obviously. And so we're over there on Saturday. Let me back up a little bit. On Saturday, that I guess I don't know, must have been May 12th ish, something like that. I don't know, I have a calendar in front of me, but actually here I do have a calendar. May 12th, it was a Saturday, and Christina's like, "Oh, I'm having some contractions," but there's like these practice contractions when a girl's pregnant. It's like they're kind of like called Braxton Hicks, and she'd been having those. And how do you know what's real and what's fake? And she was like, "Let's just go to the hospital close by and get checked out." So they checked her out, and she was 1 centimeter dilated. She was having contractions, and you're supposed to be at 10 centimeters when you actually finally push and give birth, right? So we're at 1 centimeter, which is kind of normal for this point, I guess, in the pregnancy. And they gave her some medication. They said if this medication slows down these contractions, then they weren't real contractions. So they gave it to her. It kind of slowed them down. We didn't, I asked the doctor, I said, "Does this mean the baby's going to come, soon, late?" He's like, "Doesn't mean a thing. Your baby could still come on the due date or a week after," which is very typical. They say the first baby comes, on the due date or like a week after, really, or anytime after the due date. They're always late, the first baby. So, well, not always, obviously. So, next thing I know, I go on the trip on Sunday night. We leave. We go to Georgia. We're on the Chattahoochee River on Monday, filming. Fishing stunk, by the way, like the worst fishing I've ever had on the show. It's hard enough to fish with cameras and all the logistics and trying to make this show, but this was really tough. And it was probably because the water dropped right when we got there, and it's tough to catch fish on falling water from the dam. But I did have like a 6-pound shoal bass come and eat a spotted bass, but I tried giving it slack, you know what I mean? Like, so it could just eat that fish. And then, I let it swim down with that fish for maybe 20, 30 seconds. Then I kind of put some pressure, and both of them were gone. So I lost both of them. But anyway, there's some nice fish in that river, and I've caught some huge ones where we were, but it just wasn't really happening very good that day. So, and I lost a GoPro Hero 6. Man, it was just,
Oh,
it was a
ouch.
mess. It was a mess. It was an ouch for sure. But we're kind of in the middle of our trip, or maybe later in the trip, and Christina calls. She's like, "I'm thinking I'm having contractions, blah blah blah. Like these are real, I think." And I'm like, "I don't know. You sure?" So she's timing them. She's calling the doctor, and they said, "Hey, go get some Tylenol PM." It's basically the same thing, over the counter version of what we gave you at the hospital. So if it slows them down, then again, it's not real. Nothing's happened. Well, she took it, and then I said, "Call me back. We're gonna keep trying to finish this episode, catch a striped bass once we had to portage this dam, and maybe we'll make something out of this after all." And she called me back and was like, "They're getting closer together, and they're really starting to hurt." And I'm just thinking, come on, you're being a wimp, whatever. Like they're not real contractions. You're just, probably what every guy probably thinks when their wife's like thinking it's a time, because I guess it's notorious for people to go into hospitals early. You know what I mean? Like whenever they're feeling anything, thinking they're in labor. And like they told us on the visit, they said, when you're in real labor, they were like, you're going to know. You are going to know when you're in real labor. And so I'm still doubting, you know what I mean? And so is Mike and Brandon, who produce and film the show. We're a little frustrated, to be honest, because we're like, no way, this is real. We're about to like leave because we have another 4 days in Georgia filming for these 2 episodes. And really, we're going to split them in half. So they're going to be like 4 episodes because they're a mini series. Well, we get down to the takeout and she's like, I just think you need to come home. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And it's like, what, 8:30, like 8, 9 o'clock. We still have to drive them back to the hotel, get their stuff, get showered, and then drive home for, it's like a 6.5 hour drive. And so Mike's like, hey, I'll drive. He loves to drive. Thank goodness he loves to drive the RV. And he was like, I'll drive, all night long. So I think we got back to the Charlotte area around 4:35. And my parents in Atlanta had left earlier to go be with Christina because we were going to have a baby shower that next weekend anyway. So they were just going to be with her while I was gone, just so someone was here. And we met them en route to the hospital, probably around 5 in the morning, 4:45. It got to the hospital, like I said, 5 something in the morning. Took them 30, 45 minutes to kind of check her and whatnot. And then they came back and they were like, yeah, you're 4 to 5 centimeters dilated. You're having a baby today. And next thing you know, baby comes out like 12:30. It wasn't even much longer. And when she was finally 10 centimeters dilated, it didn't take very long. She literally just pushed for like 30 minutes. The next thing you know, the baby's like, here. That was it. It was like, dude, I cannot believe this just happened. So I didn't catch a trophy on the actual trip, but turns out I ended up with the best, biggest trophy of my life, with little Theo. So I'm excited. I'm sure you'll see photos of him, but that's kind of the story, man. And huge thanks to Mike for driving all night long. And we'll probably do a video here in the next few days showing Theo and doing a little explanation on why we haven't had any episodes since then, because we have to reschedule everything. But the good news is once they start again, they're probably going to roll straight into the next season. So there will be no gap. So anyway, craziness over here ever since, man, just trying to get life back together. We had 2 or 3 construction projects going on in our home. We were repairing our floor, subfloor that was some rotted. We were redoing our master bath because we know these projects were never going to get done once the baby came, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing all this stuff. It's just chaos having all the contractors, all the construction not being in our room. He can't be in his nursery. We have to move to a guest bedroom upstairs. Just insanity. And then we still ended up doing that baby shower that Saturday, and he was born on the 15th on Tuesday. And we got home, I think, on Thursday. And then somehow Christina and I were like, she felt okay enough to have the baby shower. So Theo made it to his own baby shower. Somehow he was there. It was pretty cool. But that's it.
Dude, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Like thank you, Christina, for dealing with Drew being out of town, making these shows for us to watch, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people would have dropped you like a hat if you were 6 hours away and that situation was going on.
Probably.
That's amazing. I'm glad that he's healthy. I'm glad that, everything went well, and that, just another story. And, that's awesome, dude. That's insane. I can't wrap my mind around it. I really can't.
Yeah, exactly. And what you said about Christina, I mean, just to see her, so much respect. She's laughing and making jokes in between contractions at the final, the very last 30 minutes, when it's just, you just hear all these stories about all this stuff and all these, I don't know, all these things people go through. And we were fortunate because he was smaller. So I guess that made it a lot easier, obviously. But I mean, she's joking through the whole thing. I know she had an epidural, so hey, there was some pain being taken away there, but I was really, really proud of her and just super, super impressed with how she handled it. And the entire hospital we delivered in here in Charlotte and downtown, but it was really, really cool, man, and definitely will be and already has been a life-changing experience. So we'll have to get little Theo on a kayak as soon as we can and catch his first fish one day. It'll be here before we know it. That's what everyone keeps telling me, who's a father or mother. Like, it just goes by so fast. So I'm excited. I can't wait, and can't wait to get back on the water and share more episodes and start getting into more podcasts and see what's going on, because I've been oblivious to the world up until about now, quite honestly. So can't wait to hear what's going on from you, Ken, with River Bassin, and anyone else out there. Again, I haven't been on social media. Everyone who's told me thank you on social media, if you're a friend of ours, I definitely appreciate it. I'm going to get around to reading all that stuff eventually, but big thanks to everybody. So Ken, let's talk real quick about River Bassin. We haven't done a recap, and I want to fill everybody in with what's going on, who's in the lead, what's been shaking.
All right, cool. Let's get into it. Well, we're gonna do what we have done before, and we're just gonna run through the top, three of all the different sections, since it's been so long and we haven't been able to keep up with it, due to the baby and some busy life between Justin and I. We're just going to recap everything pretty quick, and because there's been some big changes and I don't want to miss the big changes. So I'm just going to get everybody out there again, and we can maybe start to get into some more detailed stuff within the next month or two.
Sure. And before we do that, Justin did want us to send us a message to the River Bassin Nation. What did he say again? I can go back to the text message.
Yeah,
he's on it.
He said that
he's doing something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. My short-term memory is
if you can, I'll look it up. But if you can tell, we're not as prepared for this one again, and we're winging it today, guys, with the baby and everything that's happened. But he says Washington traffic sucks. That's for sure. He said, please let people know that he's working hard to make sure that we stay up to date. So I guess that means maybe judging fish or things like that, and just up to date on standings and all that. So if you have any questions, they can. He's available at justin.hausner@gmail.com or at riverbassin@gmail.com. He checks both those emails, and he wants me to say hey to everybody. So there you go. That's the update from Justin. So.
Absolutely. And one other thing to toss in there for Justin, judging the pictures and everything, make sure everybody keep your pictures just in case, the ones that you're turning in, because we're pretty relaxed. We work through issues. We know things happen, and there's obviously human error on the back end sometimes with the computer system and stuff like that. So if something happens, send us an email, make sure you hold on to your pictures, and we can get stuff squared away. We don't want to, screw anybody, but we also have to make judgments. And if a picture is not good or one gets lost on the internet, it happens. So we can fix it. Just make sure you have your stuff to help us fix it. So moving on into what's going on, and we'll start with the Central Midwest. And in the team division, Team Schaaf is in first with 112.75 inches. One Pull, One Hole is close behind with 110.5 inches, and Topwater Drop Shotters have 104.5 inches coming in third at the moment in the team division for the Central and Midwest.
Nice.
The individual race, however, is a lot closer. Josh Shrinko is currently in first with 58.25, and also in second is Richard Paulson with 58.25. And then rounding third is Jeremy Crow with 58 inches. So a quarter of an inch is holding top three right now in the Central Midwest.
Wow. Yeah, that's close. Now, where are you at, Ken? You're in that division, right?
I am a little low. I have like 49 inches right now. I think I am I'm in the top 15, I think, if I remember.
But do you have any real, you know what I mean, like real keepers on there yet? Like one that's going to end up on your stringer by the end of the year?
I hope not. If they do, then yeah, no, I don't think I have anything that's withstanding for the season. I plan on getting out in the next couple of weeks and really trying to hit it. So I'm in 19th with 49 and a quarter. So
I got you. Everyone knows you're late in the season. That's when you hit your stride. That's what you and Clayton did last year. You know what I mean? Late in the season, you guys really hit your stride and start catching the big ones. So I wouldn't doubt if you end up somewhere near the top of that.
Don't count us out yet. we're more of summer fall transition fishermen in my mind, so there's still time. So then going into staying in the Central Midwest, the super teams, the Midwest Hog Stars are in first, followed by ORATT in second, and Illinois Dream Team and Dream Team 5 are in third.
That's cool, man. So super divisions happening a little bit there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of competition in there. Give me 2 seconds. I can pull
no
up
problem.
numbers.
I just really want to see that super division take off. I mean, as River Bassin continues to evolve and obviously having a child and changes your life. And one of the things I really want to do this year, which we're doing, is creating more of an online just tournament presence. Not as many in-person ones, and obviously the club series handles our in-person ones, but I'd like to see this super team really take off, because I feel like that's just one of the most fun ways to get out there and fish, when you got this camaraderie with multiple people, not just one person. So I want to see it take off.
Exactly.
It's good to see that over there.
For sure. Hog Stars, the ones at first, are 94.25 inches, and ORATT or ORAT, I don't know how they want us to pronounce that, it's 89 inches. And then Illinois Dream Team has 37.75 inches.
Okay.
For that.
Very cool.
And then it looks like in the Central Midwest, there's a couple youth anglers that are out there. Brent Schaaf has 55.75 inches, and Hunter Jackson has 39.5 inches. So it's good to see some young guys getting out there and hitting the water.
Exactly. Brent's part of that top team as well.
Correct. He is.
He's with his dad, Eric. And Eric, you sent me an email. I haven't even gotten to respond, telling me, just what a great job the podcast is and how much you appreciate it. By the way, I have actually had multiple people ordering and filling out the quote form, if you will, on Hooked on Wild Waters website for the trailer, the Hooked on Wild Waters edition trailer by Tennessee Trailer. So that's pretty cool. You're going to start seeing some of those rolling on the road. So apparently people are listening to the podcast. And then when we plug some of the stuff that I've been working on through the partners, sponsors, if you will, that's really cool to see people ordering and getting a quote on that form. Again, you can fill out that form. It doesn't mean you're ordering a trailer. It doesn't take your credit card info. It just lets me know, here's what I want in a trailer, and I can get you the price. And it's a special price that I definitely give a knock, usually a few $100 off for anyone who orders through that form because they've heard, through the podcast. So just want to throw that in real quick.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's cool to see people that, that they are listening to the podcast. It's interesting, rolling through Facebook feeds and stuff like that. Somebody was like, how do I river fish? And I saw somebody comment Drew Gregory's podcast. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's actually getting out there and start to get in the circulation of stuff.
That is cool, man. Cause I feel forgotten about a little bit when I've been out of commission for so long. And even before the baby, it was these construction projects were taking a lot of my time getting ready for the baby. I just feel like, and this is me really being just open and personal with you guys, I feel like I lose momentum. Like I've lost some momentum, and because I just don't know what's going on. I'm sure everyone out there is still signing up. They're still fishing. They're still loving it. But I just want to encourage you guys that we are, definitely here to stay and to continue to tweak the format to make it awesome for you guys. And I'm going to be a part of it. And I just want to see people out there catching fish in rivers, having a good time, and just doing what I fell in love with and what you guys have all fallen in love with as well, just fishing in wild water. So glad to hear it.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. In the team division, Susky Savages are in first with a whopping 121 inches, followed by Netfish and Chill with 115.5, and Buzzed Baits and Jants have 113.5. So those are some numbers. Those are definitely some numbers.
Yeah, it deserves a whoa.
Whoa! Yeah. There it is. That's the first drop we've had today. We made it 22 minutes or something.
Dude. I have lost my touch here. I'm out of practice.
It's all right. We'll get back in the swing of things. All right. So moving on to individual, William Durborough is in first with 62.25. I believe he just took that over recently since the last time we talked about
Former
it.
River Basser of the Year, by the way.
Yes.
What, 2 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. and followed by Tony Herdia with 60.75 inches, and Andrew Morrow's hanging around with 60.25 inches. Hanging around, whatever. And then Super Team isn't as popular up there yet. Empire State Strikes Back are the only ones on the board, but hopefully somebody can take them by surprise before the end of the season. Sign up and get going out there.
Yeah.
All right, moving down to the southeast. With the team, the Saluda River Boys are still sitting on top with 130.5 inches, followed by the River Champs with 124. So they got a nice 6.5-inch lead there. And following up in third is Bass Thugs with 123.75 inches.
Very nice.
Individually, Tony Amos is in first with 68. David Pauly is right behind him with 66.5, and Larry Bryant has 64. And in the Southeast Division, we actually have a college angler, Ryan Lang, with 55.75 inches going on in that area. And then they also have a youth angler, Jackson Kemp, with 39.75 inches. So it's good to see that people are utilizing those different facets that we offer and, participating, and hopefully others will join.
Yeah, absolutely. The Southeast is, that's some nice numbers right there. That's a lot of nice fish sounds like have been caught since we gave this update last. What's the big fish right now? Southeast.
Yeah,
or do we know?
Big fish in the southeast.
Am I jumping the gun on you?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. Nope, it's all right. If my Southeast Online Regional, I'm using that super fast internet that you were talking about before.
Oh yeah. Good to see Larry Bryant still catching fish. Remember, he was hurt. He was going to be hurt, or he was hurt, and then he got cleared by the doctor.
We mentioned that last time, so it's good to see him back out there. It looks like big bass in the Southeast right now is Tony Amos with 24.5 incher.
Wow.
And that is the online regional specific, so that is the rivers.
Sure.
Because we'll get to the largemouth later. The largemouth only later.
Okay, cool.
All right. Moving on to the big state of Texas that obviously deserves its own tournament, and it is its own region when it comes to these river largemouth. In the team division, now this is absolutely insane. I lack the words to describe this, so I'm just going to read them 1, 2, and 3 to you. First place is River Brothers Outdoors with 146.25 inches. Second place is River City Chubby Chasers with 137 inches. And in third place is Slackwater Junkies with 135.5 inches.
Wow. That's insane. It's insane. What does that average to? It's 146.
140. So let's see if we do some quick math. 146 and 137 and 135.5. That's an average of 139.5 inches between the top 3 teams.
So, and then if we divide, how many fish is this? It's like 3 fish.
3 fish per angler. So, right?
Yeah, because this is a team, 2-man team, right? So that's correct. 6. So it's averaging 24.3 inches of fish. That's insane. That is insane. Yep. Needless to say, everything is bigger in Texas. I think we already know that, but now it's official.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy. We should make Texas. And what would happen if we made Texas and Florida a region next year? Just those two. You know what I mean? Just kind of lump them together.
Yeah,
that would be actually pretty close. Wouldn't you think that would be like a fair mix? I don't know.
That would be a pretty fair mix, or that could be a pretty cool side tournament, like a smaller one. Texas versus Florida. So you had the bass you caught in Florida versus bass caught in Texas, or something like that. I don't know, some sort of heads up tournament.
Yeah, it leads into something that I have not actually told you yet, but that I've thought of is next year we should probably try. I know some states aren't river bassin states. Just do a state tournament on its own. That way everyone could fish and compete within their own state. You know what I mean? And then at the end, you would actually have a leaderboard. You could do it like this. Like, let's say you take the top, 6 fish from everybody in Texas, and then everyone in Florida, and everyone in Georgia, and wherever. And then the states would have a standings, like a rank. You know what I mean? Like which state really won? Because then you're kind of fishing as a team, as a super team, maybe as an individual in your state, but then at the same time, you're all together, everybody fishing as a team in one way or another. If you end up with one of the top 6 biggest fish or top 5, whatever it is for your states, that's a little bit of state pride. That's kind of cool. So we might have to consider doing that and how we can figure that out on the back end with our standings.
For sure. And considering, maybe I have to think about that a little bit, like a northern or southern like split too.
Oh yeah,
Northern states, southern states, heads up, stuff like that. That's I think that's a pretty cool idea. That'd be something that'd be interesting. So leading into that, if that's the average for those guys, obviously the individuals are going to have some crazy numbers too in Texas. First place, Brandon Villanueva is still sitting up top with 74.5 inches. Rance Teeters is second with 74, and Emmanuel is in third with 72.5. However, I'm going to extend this a little bit. To be in the top 7 in Texas, you need 70.5 inches to be in the top 7.
That's just ludicrous. That's just stupid. That's silly.
That's a lot of big fish.
Yeah.
That is a lot of big fish.
If we ever, it's tough because Texas, it's really like there's a pod. It's the hill country, Austin, San Antonio. Then you got some good water in the Brazos and other rivers, and to the west of Dallas and south. And there's other good rivers too. But really, it's like this main pod that the biggest fish come from. Trust me, I know. I'm from Texas and eastern Texas. I mean, you can look at the Bassmaster Elite Series. They were on the Sabine River, which is the border of Texas and Louisiana, and they were struggling to catch 10 pounds of 5 fish a day. That was like good. That's what the leaders were getting. I had a brief moment to catch it. I think Greg Hackney won, but for 4 days of fishing, whatever it was, what do you have, like 40 something pounds? I don't know. I actually don't know how it ended up, but you get the point. Like if you catch a fish that's 2 pounds, 2 or 3 pounds, you're like so jacked up in East Texas because it's Louisiana basically, and those rivers there, just for whatever reason, the bayous, it's just they're stunning. They just don't get big, which is odd because coming out of Toledo Bend, the fish are huge in Toledo Bend. Anyway, point is, the big river fish are mainly in central and west Texas. Even including all the way out west to like the Devil's River and Pecos and any river out there. It's just odd why it's like that, but it is. But it's just amazing to see those numbers. And if we ever did have a championship, it's far away, but it would be worth it for anyone outside the country to make that trip because the water is so rare and unique. All the spring-fed rivers that are actually in that hill country, it'll blow you away with the beauty of it too, and you're catching big fish, so it's a win-win.
Yeah, the trip to Texas is definitely on the bucket list for me. Looks like Craig Hackney had 48 pounds and 5 ounces total for the whole tournament.
There you go, and he blew everyone out of the water. So they had, and it's 4 days, right? If you fish, I believe it's 4 days.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think.
So I mean, that's not. I mean, he won. Everyone else is probably like 30. Like what were they at? Like probably like 40 or 40,
I think 30. Swindle had around 40, 42. Yeah. Then that was second place.
Yeah, so go down and look at Iconelli, who probably finished. I don't know where he was at the end, but a lot of these really, really good anglers were getting like 20-something and 30-something pounds. We're talking 4 days, 5 fish a day. That's 20 fish. I mean, it's not the place to go for the big fish. Now, you can catch tons of numbers. It's a great area to fish, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bash anybody who bass fishes in East Texas, but the lakes are where it's at, not so much the rivers in that area. So
it sounds like a good place for like an MLF format, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
So cool. Super team is very competitive in Texas. The bare knuckle bass brawlers have 120.5 inches in first, and second Lone Star River Riders are 116.75 inches. So like the crazy thing about the super teams is that you have that big number. However, the weakest link on your team catches one big fish, and that number skyrockets up. So I don't know what the smallest fish on Lone Star River Riders is off the top of my head, but I imagine with those numbers that we're seeing that the 4 inches probably isn't too hard to catch up. And Team Kick and Bass is in third with 56.75 inches. And that's pretty much wraps up Texas. Those numbers are insane. It's only going to get better. I'm sure they're going to start creeping in on each other, making it a quarter-inch fight, which is gonna come down to, sometimes it may come down to picture quality.
Oh yeah,
like pinching the tail and stuff like that you're allowed to do in River Bassin. So
that's right. That's right. It's definitely going to be a interesting last month or so to watch, and I just can't even imagine how those anglers are going to feel every time they hook up with something they know is a giant. It's going to be heartbreaking. I was out there and actually fished on the Colorado River with Jonathan Aljets, and he lost a fish that wrapped him up in a tree. It was the craziest thing. He was throwing I think it was maybe a chatterbait, and he just skipped it kind of under a branch, and the water was moving real strong. And you know how like branches, when the water goes up on a river, when there's a dam upstream and they release water, how it goes up, and then the branches that were hanging down are now in the water where they weren't earlier. Dude,
mhm.
that's what happened. His line is wrapped around a group of limbs that are now in the water. So he couldn't like swoop down with his rod and wrap under it. So he's got this fish wrapped around this, and he's floating downstream, and the fish is like basically the same distance downstream as he is, but his line's back upstream. So next to him at this weird angle, which isn't the angle his rod is going, right? Because the rod is going back to the line further upstream. This giant, like 10+ pounder jumps. And I go over there and I start just swatting down the branches, trying to loop that line underneath it for him. We get all tangled up. It was crazy. I actually had my GoPro on it. It caught the fish jumping at the very end when it spit I think it was maybe a chatterbait or a jig, and he spit it. And then the craziest thing happened. The GoPro literally went off, I guess SD card full or battery, right when it started breaching the water. So we see it breaching, and the giants are there, man. It's I can't even imagine catching these fish at the end in a tournament where you just need a quarter inch, half an inch, because they hook them all the time. It's insane. So I'm going to be very eagerly watching how this finishes up. And I know some people are going to be pretty excited and pretty upset that what goes down that last couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put up 70 inches and feel good about being in
No,
seventh place. I mean, it's
intense, man. Those guys are intense over there. Now they have fun. They're all good guys, and it's all good natures. But don't get me wrong, they are very, very intent on winning. It's getting competitive, and that's cool. That's cool as long as everyone, realizes it's still fishing and still keep it fun over there. But it's going to be
yeah,
interesting,
absolutely.
and we're going to have those guys on the podcast. That's on my list of things. Emmanuel, Albert, those guys. We're going to get those guys over here.
For sure.
Eric, we'll Brandon. We're going to find some people to interview from Texas for sure. Chris Fowler, Eric Porter. We'll get them on.
Cool. We now going to step away from Texas, as much as fun as it's to talk about. We have some representation in the West Division finally. We have 2 anglers on the board. First place right now is Ryan Weingar with 38 inches, and in second place is Ben Friedman with 33.25 inches. So
Wow.
It's good to see that we're getting out west.
I wonder where they're from.
Too.
Does it say? Does our bios say that or not yet on our website? I can't remember if I think we have a state maybe, but we'll look into it. But either way, those 2 guys, listen up. If you want this to continue, I mean, because there's probably like a fine print somewhere. I can't remember what it is. A minimum number of anglers. Their prize package may change a little bit, but based on the minimum number or whatever, we're still going to send them prizes, and it's going to be awesome. Well, way above and worth the $20 or whatever it costs to enter the thing. But if we really want to keep that going out west, we got to have you guys. You have more than just, if let's assume these 2 guys know each other. You got more than just one friend each. You know what I'm saying? That fish in rivers out of kayaks. You got to spread the word about this all through the Snake River territory with the great smallmouth, the California Delta. If you know guys who are big into fishing the rivers there, we need to spread the word because we want to keep it going out there. We want to grow it out there. But, this doesn't make any money. We don't have any marketing really behind it other than shooting off some podcasts and just social media. So we need your help. You know what I mean? You guys are the River Bassin community. So spread the word so we can keep it going out there because fishing's amazing out west in certain pockets for rivers.
Looks like Ryan Weingar is from Oregon.
Okay.
And Ben Friedman is from California, Santa Rosa area, it looks like.
Okay, yeah, there's great fishing there. And I know that Oregon's got some incredible smallmouth fishing in the Columbia River system. They're treated as sort of I I don't want to say it like this, but it kind of is. They're kind of treated as a trash fish, and the smallmouth get like 5 and 6 pounds in that system and bigger. But they're looked at more of a trash fish because salmon and steelhead are just the more popular sport fish in that region of the country, and the bass actually eat the salmon eggs. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of hurts the population. It's a fish that I guess isn't native or whatever. Of course, I thought smallmouth were native to that system, but either way, they don't really see them as the same way we do.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, definitely do, guys, get out there, get your friends involved, grow it, make it bigger, because the bigger it gets for you guys, the better, cooler stuff we can do for you. I mean, that's just how it works.
Exactly.
All right. Well, those are all the regionals. Um, so that's all of the different all the regional individual stuff. I'm going to move on to and run through the species specific stuff, the little side tournaments that are fun and pretty important too, because if you finish well in these, it adds to the chase for the River Bass of the Year, correct?
Correct.
With points?
Exactly. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get bonus depending on if you end up in the top. I think it's top 10 gives you each 5 bonus points.
Yeah, I believe that is correct.
So
So
definitely worth entering, and you can still enter and definitely. I mean, the fishing is just getting going. Lots of parts of the country. So top 10 is what if you're shooting to get the River Bass of the Year prize and prize package or River Bass Team of the Year. Get involved now because you just got to get in that top 10 because you're all going to get the same number of points whether you're first or 10th.
yep. All right. Starting with the mixed bag, we have a lot more limits now. Lance is still in first with 103.75 inches, but his lead is not as strong as it was. Jason Alford came out of nowhere and put up a stringer of 103 inches, which bumped Brad down to third with 101 inches on his stringer.
Wow.
And just a little side note on the mixed bag, it is a little difficult for the tournament directors to keep up on this one because the software doesn't work quite right on it as the other tournaments. So it's a little bit more technical for us for Justin and us to judge those. So if there's anything ever looks weird, absolutely send us a message, but we have to manually do some stuff for that one to keep it running correctly. So if it looks weird, like we apologize and we'll fix it. It's a little harder to judge that one than the rest of them because of the different format.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to pull out like certain species to make sure it stays 2, 2, and 1, you have to manually do it. It's kind of tricky, but maybe one day we'll get our software guys to build us an actual patch in the software that'll only allow 2, 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be nice. That'd be real nice. But we still want to do it for you guys. So hopefully it's not been too much of a pain for Justin. Again, kudos to him and you and anyone else who is behind the scenes, judging the fish.
Absolutely. They work hard and trying to make this fun for everyone. Moving on, Alabama. Ricky Mount is in first with 103.75 inches, but Lance isn't letting him have too much of a comfortable lead with 103.25 inches, and Larry Bryant is right on their heels with 103 inches. So the Alabama Bass, the Alabama one category is very tight at the moment.
Wow. Very, very tight. That's a great underrated species. People tend to gravitate, since shoal bass only live in one place in the whole world, towards Georgia. Let's all go catch shoal bass. But now that the Alabama bass has been designated as a separate species, deservingly so, these huge, if you still want to call them spotted bass, they're pretty limited in their range too. They've been moved around some, obviously, unlike shoal bass because they can live in lakes. But man, the Coosa River system, those Alabama bass are definitely worth catching. That specific strain, if you will, it's a separate species. But you get my point. If you're going to Georgia to catch shoal bass, you're getting to the southeast, you've never caught that species, the Alabama bass, definitely go to the Coosa River or any of those tributaries and catch some. They're awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. That category is Alabama spotted and shoal. So that little, depending on where you're at, what species you're grabbing, that's a fun little tournament, and that's something I'd like to get down and do myself one day, for sure. That's another one. This whole tournament series has opened my eyes on places that I want to go and try to do. So moving on to the Guad and Swanee. Eric Porter is still sitting on top with 75 inches. Ethan McKay has come up to second place with 72.75 inches, and Gene Wilson's hanging around with 70.75 inches in third place.
Very cool. Hey, free tournament, guys. That one's free. So go get involved, enter that one. You might as well. It's free.
Yep. If you have those species around you, absolutely. Smallmouth, one of my favorite fish to catch, and we were just talking about that out in the West on how it's apparently not as popular. But Jeffrey Rabbit is still in first with 104.5 inches. William is right behind him. We talked about him a little bit earlier, 102.5 inches, and Tony Herdia has 100.75 inches in third. So pretty tight battle at the top, but then again, I think Jeremy Crow is rounding out number 10, I believe, in the smallmouth at the bottom with 95 inches. So you got to have a decent limit to get in the top 10 there to get some extra points.
Yeah. And that's, he's over in Michigan, so that's impressive to be up there, with all the guys from fishing in Susquehanna and some of the places in, the New River, the Southeast. So that's an impressive feat there as well from Jeremy.
Absolutely. And then the latest news, and it's a topic that we've talked about before, the largemouth division. And I think you know what's coming just because I've made a big deal about this.
What's up? Give me some info, dude.
Gene Wilson has taken over first place again with 126.5 inches.
Whoa, dude! What fish? What happened?
She
catch me up.
Laid down 2 fish over one weekend that bumped her straight back to the top. I believe it was one weekend. Her average is just insane. I know that Thomas has that big lunker on the end of his, but let's just read these 5 fish off. And it's insane. So, and we're going to go biggest to smallest because that's how the website lines them up. 26.25, 25.25, 25.25, 25.25. And the 5th one is, my computer froze, sorry. 24.5.
Wow, that's insane, man. That deserves a whoa. That is ridiculous. Is she now like really the Tiger Woods in his heyday? Like she's like of this largemouth division. I find it, I find it like a fun challenge to probably try to compete against her. I just have not had the time, obviously, filming the show and running all this stuff to actually go for it. But if you guys are out there and you want a challenge, this is your challenge. Dethrone her, and we're going to come up with a special separate prize for anyone who ever knocks her off. Could be this year still.
Yeah,
I mean, Brad.
Something.
Yeah, I mean, he can do it. Brad Case can do it.
He needs to get. Absolutely, he can. But here's the crazy thing about Brad's stringer. His smallest fish is 22.5, so there's definitely room to call some inches there. But it would take a fish bigger than his monster, 27.75. It would take like a 28-inch fish for one fish to catch him up. He would have to catch a 28-inch fish, which he's almost done. But he's going to have to call, realistically, 2 or 3 of his fish to catch up to Gene. She has a 6-inch lead.
I bet you he does it. Yeah, I bet you at least gets close because that guy can catch some fish. So and some dark horse may still emerge. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, because Brad's in second with 120.5. Basically, like I just mentioned, he's 6 inches behind, and then Rance Teeters has 117.25.
Right. Cool, man. That's a great update. Glad to be caught up with everything.
And
anything else?
One last thing, if you're really wondering what she's using, go look at her pictures. They're just hanging out right there near the fish for what she was using. She's not being secretive about it at all.
That's cool. Yeah, she's super friendly, super helpful. I mean, you can hit her up on Facebook and she'll get back to you, and just a real good representative for kayak fishing and for Jackson Kayak. She's on the Jackson Kayak team as well. So Way to go, Gene. We really are happy for you, and even though we're also jealous of you, we're happy. That's awesome that you've really got it figured out down there, dialed in. A lot of those spring-fed rivers in Florida, they definitely growing big there. So I would love to see almost even like one day we might have to even figure out a way to do a tournament style. You know what I mean? Like format with these top like whatever 8 or 6
We might have.
and just put two
We
people
might.
head to head and give them each like a month and just kind of work their way down to the championship, even fishing their own waters or traveling wherever they want to travel. Just it's your your decision. So that there's a lot of cool things we can do with River Bassin online to keep it fresh, keep it new and exciting for everybody out there.
We might even have to make a super team versus Gene Wilson.
Yeah,
5 people's best bass versus her 5 best.
that's
bass.
right. See what happened. That'd be that's crazy. Well, man, this is a great podcast. Just catching me up. I'm a little bit out of practice, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And the last thing I want to do mention, I might try to in post production here put this in earlier in the podcast. But right now, the Hooked on Wild Water sweepstakes is going on for June. We haven't forgotten about that. We've still been running once a month. And Tackle Warehouse, we just posted it here recently. We didn't quite get it up on June 1st, but Tackle Warehouse is donating a $250 gift card to this month's sweepstakes winner. So all you have to do is go in there, like either our social media platforms or Tackle Warehouse, and you potentially can win. So it's free, it's easy. Go check it out. We want to give that away to a listener or a viewer. And I'm trying to think, go buy some stuff on the River Bassin store. We still got that going. There's all kinds of hats, board shorts. If you order something and we happen to be out of stock on something, we'll refund you, or you can get something else. I just don't have any idea on my stock levels, but go check it out. It helps us keep the lights on. So we really appreciate that. It keeps this thing going. And Ken, what else do you got? Anything else you want to mention other than just telling everyone to definitely don't forget to follow us on social media?
Oh, absolutely. Follow us, like us, let us know what you think. If you feel like you have an opinion that would help us out, make things better, whatever you got to do, just to keep out there and fishing the rivers and making this fun.
Yeah, and I will throw this out there, Ken. Next time I get on with you, here's what we're going to do, because you mentioned this in a text to me. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion on maybe 2 to 3 lure setups for beginner river fishermen or just kind of in general. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some specific setups, how to catch these fish. Hopefully you've seen the pattern, guys. If you listen to this podcast, this is a River Bassin Recap podcast. Okay, we're also going to have other podcasts that are with different guests and whatnot. But I think when you're on next, we should definitely at least talk about a little tips and tactics to just make sure there's a little bit more than just recapping the River Bassin stuff. So we'll do that. And if you guys want to, ever message us on the Instagram or message us on Facebook page, any questions, I'll answer them on the podcast. We'll answer one pretty much every podcast. Just send us some questions. Whatever you want us to answer, we will answer it, because we want to talk about what you want to learn about. So definitely get engaged with us socially, and we'll make it happen. So if you don't have anything else, Ken, let's wrap it up. And thanks to everybody out there for listening.
For sure.
All right. Peace out.
Have a good later.
See ya.
I'm Drew Gregory.
Hit the wrong button.
This
This
is Hooked
one.
on Wild Waters.
Drew Gregory's Hooked on Wild
See, I'm out of
Waters
practice.
has been brought to you by River Bassin Tournament Trail. No egos.
See, I'm just gonna hit everything now.
Put the guys
Jackson
on the
Kite.
Just hit them all the
GoPro.
It's a mess.
That's right. Let's throw the goose attack in.
tournament before.
Never lose your cool.
It was kind of scary
Team fishing.
and
Make
cool
your own
because I
luck.
had to put a helmet on
Seaman
ahead of
Lures.
time.
The science and art of fishing.
That's it. See ya. We're out.
Got a helmet on.